right? Her ex-student, who was now, like, guys, he was nyawupes, okay? He was nyawupes, you know. I think I even saw Nyana Iglu there in his pocket. He was straight up nyawupes, so he could have done whatever, you know. But because of my aunt's beautiful heart, he extended grace to me, and because of God's grace, Nyawupes was there waiting for me, you know. Hi everyone. So I was on TikTok the other day and I see this American lady. She says that she decided to travel from Lesotho to Johannesburg using a taxi, the South African taxi, and she said that she arrived there by the CBD at 10 p.m. at night. And my first thought was like, yeah, such bravery. But then immediately I was reminded of a 22, 23 or 24-year-old me ending up in the CBD around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Let me tell you all about it. It was the school holidays. I was back, you know, with my mom. But then if you remember very well, as a student, being home was everything. I mean, there was a home-cooked meal every night. There was always food in the pantry or in the cupboards, in the fridge. Unlike when you're at school and you end up eating noodles because you spent all your money buying the latest pants. And well, that was me. I spent all my money buying clothes, and so I never had money for food. Maybe that's why I was super skinny. But if it was school holidays, we stayed until the very last day, or just the day before colleges and universities and all of that open. And so I remember I had to go back and buses were full. I used to use the city to city bus. I used to use the city to city bus, like to travel from my hometown back to Joburg, in Braamfontein. I lived in Braamfontein most of my college career, you know. Yeah, just to say that. So when we got there, guys, I've always been that person who packs last minute, and I still do it even today. I don't like it, but I still do it. And so I was very late, as usual. I think I still have a bit of tardiness. Like I don't think it will go. No, it is gonna go away. I'm gonna work on it. But anyway, I was late. I get there, all the city to city buses were full because everyone and their mama and their uncle and everyone who worked in Johannesburg was, you know, that was the day that everyone was going back. And so, you know, we're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Because I have to go back. So I decided, okay, fine, we'll just take a taxi. No one liked to take the taxi because we've always had this thing, you know, that taxis are not safe, and so the bus is safer. Because, you know, the taxis would like drive very fast because they want to just do the trip up and down, you know. And so, you know, it was either that or I go back home and I'll catch another bus and miss a day of school and stuff like that. But then these people came, you know, they were busy recruiting, and they're like, yo, and they go to my mom, we have a bus. It's exactly the same, you know, it's just not a city to city bus. We can take your child with. We are going to Johannesburg. We're going to drop her off at the park station. Now, honestly, how old was I? Around 22 or 23. Did I say 24? But you know what, ne? I looked young, and I looked younger. At 24, people used to think I was 18. So I looked younger way back then, you know. I'm sorry. And so my mom was like, okay, fine, you have to go back to school. So they promised my mom that we're going to drop her off in at the park station, right? So I get into the bus and it drives around and because these people were just recruiting whoever, they would like go into like Davidton, drop some people off, go into like another place, I'm not sure, and then we ended up at this place. I'm like, I think that was Davidton. Was it Davidton or was it Box? Germiston? I'm not sure what it was. One of those places. When they got there, they were like, this is it. Spelela Kunala. We are not going anywhere else. And I'm like, but you told my mom that you're going to drop me off at the park station. I didn't even know this place. I don't remember what it was, but one of these places within Gauteng. but outside of town. And they're like, no, we'll give you 15 rand, because from here to town it's 15 rand. So they give me 15 rand. And they're like, you're gonna catch a taxi. So I find a taxi, and there's like nobody in there, and I'm holding this huge bag because I used to be one of those softies. I didn't want to hold heavy things and all of that, you know. So obviously when I got to the park station, I would probably go into like a maxi taxi to drop me off close to my flat. So yeah, like I've grown, and life will just teach you to grow up. But yeah, the taxi was empty. At first I didn't really know where to go. They gave me 15 rand, and they said, just find a taxi, just go around here, you'll find a taxi. And I see a young lady from my church back home pass by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, how are you? And I'm like, please help me out, I need to find taxis. And so she shows me where the taxis are, and she literally helps me with my bags, because they were heavy, obviously. So she helps me with my bags. We sit and we find that there's no one in the taxi, so I sit there waiting for it to fill up. Check. I don't even have a phone. I had just lost my phone, and you know, I was promised that at the end of the month, I think it was like a week until the end of the month, they were going to give me money to buy a new phone. So I didn't even have a phone. So I can't even call friends to say, hey, come fetch me at the park station and walk me to my flat. I couldn't call anybody. I asked people around, what's the time? It's now 6 o'clock. The taxi is still not moving because it's not full. You know how it is. If a taxi is not full, it's not going to move. I think the taxi was full around 7:30, and that's when we moved to Johannesburg. By the time we got there, it was about 8:30, and it was dark, and they dropped us off by Noord, right? There used to be like was it a KFC? I haven't been there, guys. I hate the CBD, so if I don't have to go, I will not go. And I haven't been there in about 12 years, I think. Yeah, I haven't been in the CBD. I do not like it. Like, but imagine being in the CBD by Noord at like 8:30. It's dark, like everywhere. It's just sorties. And guys, I was a skinny little person, so, and I'm just glad that on that day I decided to wear pants. So I was wearing like some joggers and a t-shirt. Like, honestly, I didn't even want to get out. And the guy was like, get out of my taxi, get out. We've reached our destination, you know, get out. I took all my bags, and I'm like, you know, today, I don't know, like I could just feel the dread from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, you know. And so as I go out, this very dirty looking man says, yeah, Kunjani Kateko. That's not my name. My name is Diselanes, you know, that's my brother's name. But because I recognize that he's calling me by my brother's name, I'm like, I'm just gonna say yes. I'm not even gonna correct him. I'm just gonna say yes. I'm like, Minjani, you know. And he's like, you know, what are you doing here late at night? I'm like, no, I explain. Because right now, like, guys, I usually don't speak to strangers. But right now I have no choice, you know, because here I am in the CBD at 8:30 at night, and obviously the clock is ticking. I don't have a phone. I like, it's just me. And so he's like, yeah, Ukwin Makwawe. So he thought that my aunt, because I'm light, so like my mom is darker than me, my brother is darker than me, but my aunt, who used to teach at the primary school of where we are from, she's super light. And so I used to hang out with her a lot. And so he assumed that my aunt, so she's the one who's the lightest, or both her and I are the lightest in the family, like skin tone. And so many people would assume that she's my mom's, but I'd always correct them and say, no, she's actually my auntie. But today she's like, oh, where's your mom who used to teach at Dwalakule? Well, that's the place where my aunt taught. And I'm like, she's fine. I didn't even correct him. I'm like, no, she is fine. My mommy is fine, and she's back at home and all of that. And so he's like, give me your bags. I will walk you, because if I don't walk you, Guys, now it is dark, and this guy is just a street, I can't call him a street kid, he's a street man. And I don't know him, but he knows me clearly because he's calling out my brother's name, asking where my brother is, asking about my mom, who's actually my aunt. So I'm like, okay, clearly this, I have no choice. I have no choice but to walk with this homeless man. He grabs all of my bags, and I'm just left with my backpack, my small little backpack, and he's like, let's go. And then he starts walking, and he tells me, you need to walk fast. I'm like, okay. And so we start walking fast, and he keeps shooing away because people are trying to grab me, guys. People are trying to grab me, men are trying to grab me, and he keeps shooing them away because he knows these people, because they fellow street, brothers of the street or whatever. He keeps shooing them away, and we're walking. And I can tell now we're going into a dungeon, a normal people, but you know how the buzzing the city is. So before we got into where it was dark, it was just people walking everywhere, people trying to grab me and everything else, and he was shooing them away, shouting and actually pushing them away. But then we get to a place where it's a dungeon, it's dark, and he says, let's go this way. And I'm like, okay. And I knew that I was not right with God. I knew I was not right with God at that time. So I was like, this is it. I know I'm not gonna go home. This is it. I know I'm not gonna reach my flat. So I'm gonna say. So I said the salvation prayer. Look, I was born in the church, so I know my salvation prayer. I said my salvation prayer, and I asked God for forgiveness for everything, because I knew that this was it. I wasn't gonna reach my destination. I knew that this guy was just, he was gonna do whatever and just disappear, and no one would know where I am. It was dark, literally, because we didn't go through where I'm used to. He just went via the dungeon side. I just prayed, and I was like, Lord, I know this is it. So please, I said the salvation prayer. If you know the salvation prayer, you know the salvation prayer. But I was just walking as fast as I could, and we kept on walking, and it was a dungeon. It was just dark. I'm calling it a dungeon, but we just were walking behind I don't even know how to explain it to you. The taxis were up there, and we're by the park station where the taxis are. We were walking down where we kept on walking, and this guy wasn't stopping. He wasn't stopping, and I kept on thinking, okay, he's not stopping. Sorry, my camera is doing weird things today. He wasn't stopping, and so I was like, oh, okay, we'll keep walking. And then eventually I see two policemen where there was light from afar, and my heart was like when I saw the two policemen, because the park station has, there always a policeman everywhere. When I saw those two policemen, my heart was like, okay, I think I'm gonna make it. I saw those two policemen, and I just felt this huge sigh of relief. He kept on walking, and when we went inside the park station, he was like, okay, give me money now, pay me. And I take out 100 rand, and he's like, there is just no way you're gonna pay me 100 rand. Did you see what I just did for you? Yay, I took out all the money. I think they had given me 600 rand from home. I took out the whole 600 rand, and I gave it to the guy, to homeless guy, and he was like, yeah. And then he went away. Look, he saved my life. I know, that was not worth 600, but he saved my life. So he took all my pocket money. He took all my money, and he left. And I just stood there thinking, okay, how do I now walk from the park station to my flat? So if I had a flatmate, maybe they would have, figured out that there's no one there. But I don't know, so thank God for soulmates. I'll say they felt good to know, man. I don't know, maybe they went to come to say hello at my flat and they did not find me. I don't know, but I then see somebody that I know walking around, and I can see that they're looking. Guys, did I not scream out their name? This is my now husband. I said, I'm like, hello, come here, I'm here. I did not have a phone. I don't know what prompted him to go to the park station to look for me. I don't know what. I don't even remember. I then just ran. I even left my bags and I started. Like, I wasn't crying. I was brave. But the moment I saw him, I cried my eyes out. I cried my eyes out. I didn't even have money for maxi taxi because dude took all my money. And now it was around 9:30, I think. It was around 9:30 or 10, and grabbed all my stuff, paid for my maxi taxi, and made sure that I was in my flat. And that was it. That was me. That was it. Oh my gosh. So when I think about this story, it made me realize that, as I said, I was very far from God at the time. I was just living my life, child. I was just living my life. I was living my best life. To put it clearly, I was just living my best life at the time. But because I remember when we were a bunch of friends, a bunch of my friends, we were like, I knew. When I decided to be baptized, I knew that I was clean here, and a bunch of my friends, they decided that they were going to get baptized. I was like, no. And I knew, we are friends and we know the kind of lifestyle we're living. Look, I wasn't wild or anything. I wasn't wild, but I knew the kind of lifestyle that, that's not really acceptable. And so I was like, no, you guys be baptized. If that's what you feel like, you go be baptized. When I was baptized, I knew that in here, God had created a clean heart in me. So I realized then that it doesn't matter how far we, God. The first thing, I know I'm now like rambling. The first thing that came to me was that God is always there. We are the ones that will move away from Him. He doesn't move away. He's always there, and that He loves us. He loves us, and He always loves us. And even when we have moved away from Him, He still, He'll still. You remember the guy who. the child, the prodigal son. I was the prodigal son, okay? I was the prodigal son, but He still saved me. He still saved me. Guys, if you know the CBD, because when I heard about this lady on TikTok, I was like, she did what now? Like, she did not do that. Because if you know the CBD, you cannot be there alone as like a woman at night, because you will not make it home, or all your belongings are gonna be stolen, or something bad will happen to you. But yeah, I know this was actually the story. I wanted to tell it as part of my podcast, but guys, you're taking out the podcast mic and everything else. It's a lot of work, especially because I do it on my own and I've got kids walking around all the time that I need to take care of. Recording a podcast is very hard for me, and having to edit it with concentration and all of that is very hard. But one thing I realized is that every story I told there was sad and all, it was sad. So it's stuff that made me cry, and the final episode is very sad too. And I actually wanted to tell even the good stories as part of the podcast. And as I said, I was wrapping it up and I was saying enough about me. I'm like, no, I didn't share the good stuff that happened to me, because good stuff did happen to me. I need to share that, the funny stuff, the stuff where God saved me despite or in spite of myself. Even though I was very far from Him, He still reached out His hand and saved me. I think those are the kind of things that when one sat down, you just think about how God saved you even when you are not right with Him. I think these are one of the things that pushed me closer to Him, But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share this. After hearing that lady's story, it just reminded me of me in the CBD and, saying my final prayers, knowing that, I am not making it home. home. I was like, I'm not making it home. So I need to make it to heaven. So I needed to make my things right with God right there. And I just did it. But I somehow made it home. I don't know who this guy is. So he explained to me that he dropped out of the school where my auntie was teaching. And oh, here's another lesson. Yes, he told me that he dropped out of the school where my auntie was teaching, and that my aunt was the only one who treated him right. And so that's why he was going to protect me and was going to walk me home. So my aunt Mercy and my aunt's beautiful heart protected me as well on that night. You know what I'm saying? The fact that she's such a wonderful person, and she is. My aunt is a wonderful person. And that she treated students right. Her ex-student, who was now, like, guys, he was Nyaupes, okay? He was Nyaupes, you know. I think I even saw Nyana Iglu there in his pocket. He was straight up Nyaupes, so he could have done whatever, you know. But because of my aunt's beautiful heart, he extended grace to me. And because of God's grace, Nyaupes was there waiting for me, you know, and I'll be forever grateful. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for my little story. This is actually, it's still part of 40 before 40. I just couldn't bring out the mic, as I said. Thank you so much. Bye.